Hello everybody and welcome back to Victoria, where we are currently in a bit of a situation here. We're working our way out of it, I think. We've got another 13 months left of the increased expenses, which is painful. There's no doubt about that. That's very, very painful. What else can we think about doing here? So, our biggest problem at this point is our radicals. There are a huge number of radicals. Now, to be clear, enacting censorship should do a pretty good job towards that. So we're working towards enacting censorship, and it's not all that bad. I mean, at this point, the minus 10% technology spread isn't that big of a deal. The 100 authority does mean we're going to be able to crack down on our turmoil, which would be absolutely great. We're absolutely going to be able to crack down on that in one more province anyway. So that's fine. We do have a couple of unpinned journal entries. Path to Liberalism and what's this other one? Establish the film arts? Sure, whatever. Right now, our biggest concern is not so much market access. Our market access is okay. Our biggest concern right now is we need to drop our number of radicals. Desperately. So, why are we having so many radicals? Well, there's a bunch of reasons for this, actually. So, the current number of radicals, if we look at this here, we're losing some from successful political movements, and that's really good. That's what we want. Increases in standard of living, pops dying, events, and other reasons. Sure. Having a standard of living below expected minimum, but that's not very many. Low legitimacy is a few, but the biggest one is decreases in standard of living and being fired from buildings where they had ownership shares, right? So, the reason that this is happening is because of the turmoil giving the... Hang on, am I misunderstanding this? I think they changed this. It's tax waste now, not throughput. Right? Yeah, that's in the latest patch that they changed that, if I recall correctly. Turmoil gives tax waste. Turmoil does not reduce building throughput anymore. That's actually a huge deal. So what that means is that with our market access coming up, we should, in theory, and we do definitely want to continue to expand our railways in locations with low market access. But we should, in theory... Oh, that one already had one. But I guess building another one isn't a bad thing. Yeah, it's already constructed in both of those locations. Let's go ahead and cancel these ones that I just accidentally queued up. So... well, let's resume our construction queue here. We're going to hit our credit cap soon, so this is going to pause. But we want to pull out of our investment pool. And this will finish up a couple of things. But most importantly, what it will do... oh, wow, look at our GDP. Our GDP has come up dramatically, actually. That's really, really good. I think we're recovering. Only one more week after this week until our railways finish up. And our unrealized taxes are dropping off as well. That said, our investment pool is a lot smaller. But let's finish up those railways. Okay. Now at this point, if we don't conclude construction on all of these motor industries, that's probably okay. We're going to run out of investment pool soon. Like, after this week. Yeah. So we need to pause our construction queue here. But that's fine. We should see market access improving in most of these locations, except apparently Hanover, although that's already got a +1. 17 weeks on that. So that's fine. That's fine. So we need to let our investment pool build up a little bit more here. I'm noticing our GDP is just fluctuating. Our number of radicals is, I think, holding firm. I think it's actually dropping a little bit. 2.61, 2.62. Yeah, so our number of radicals is slightly dropping. Our number of loyalists is slightly increasing. That's really good. If we can get this... well, actually, the question is, what is causing our drop in our standard of living right now? That's a valid question, because if we're no longer having throughput issues from the turmoil, if that's only tax waste now, then what does that end up meaning for us? That ends up meaning that our GDP is heavily down. For what reason? Because it's not market access, and it's not turmoil. Let's take a quick look here. So we can see that these wheat farms are losing cash reserves. Okay. That's interesting. So I'm just thinking here, if that's the case, we may want to get rid of at least some of our violent suppression. So that's not adjusting our money at all. Now that's really interesting. I would have expected that to adjust it. Maybe it's just not updating it. Yeah, it just didn't update it. So 306k. Fair enough. Actually, going down to high taxes is not bad here, I feel like. So that's pretty close. So the question now is, can we, through consumption taxes, become profitable? Grain is not something that we want to tax, for sure. It looks like around 40 to 50k per 100 consumption, or per 100 authority, is about the best that we can do. So services looks good. We don't want to do clothes. Liquor is fine for now. Wine. Luxury clothes. Porcelain. Transportation is mediocre here. It's like 16k. So luxury furniture is actually better. And then from there, we can still run some violent suppressions in our highest GDP provinces. So we want to look at where our highest GDP is. 17% here. So yeah, 17%, 3%. Just making our way around here. Just to get an idea. And we want to declare neutrality here. Get out of here. Okay. So 2%, 4%, 2%, 5%. Obviously, Brandenburg is going to be our highest, right? 6, 9, 7. 7, 0, 2, 4, 0, 1, 3, 13. So Brandenburg and Silesia are going to be the big ones. Like Brandenburg, Silesia, and North Rhine, I think, or actually Dortmund. Okay. So let's go ahead and issue violent suppressions in Westphalia, in Brandenburg, and in Silesia. That puts us just positive. And then from there, that's a huge chunk of our GDP under control there. We can now run potentially another consumption tax, although, like, glass would be the best one. Getting us slightly positive here. 107k. We entered default, awkwardly enough. But that's because our credit cap dropped. Okay. So that's fine. We need that additional expenses to go away. That's the biggest thing right now. But we're allowing our investment pool to build up, and our credit cap is chilling. We're in default right now, but that's only because our credit cap is, like, fluctuating wildly. I'm still not understanding what's driving our GDP so low, though. If it's not the turmoil. Let's actually see if tax waste has something to do with that. Yeah, that's a helpful tooltip. Yeah, taxes that are collected are wasted. So it's not anything to do with throughput. Okay. I still feel like getting rid of the turmoil would solve a big part of our problem. So we're working on enacting censorship, which should be fine. We can actually run another decree here or another consumption tax. Sugar would be mediocre. I feel like a violent suppression would probably be the way to go. Perhaps in, like, Posen? Yeah, that is a little bit more efficient there. Okay, so we're running a surplus now. That's good. At this point, I want to resume our construction queue, but we're technically in default right now. Yeah, we would be. Okay. Synthetics plants fully employed. Standard of living decreases here in Württemberg. Very awkward. Very awkward indeed. Food industries, livestock ranches. And now we're dipping down a little bit in our income, and now we're negative. Okay, so welfare payments are not really a big part of that. Subsidies absolutely are, but we need to run the subsidies. It's these additional expenses. It's always coming back to this. If this wasn't the case, this would be so much easier if that flood hadn't have happened. So, another question. Is this happening because of our urban centers? Maybe. Hypothetically, we bump these back to where they were. Let's see what happens. Standard of living decrease. Now, this piece 3D is fine, whatever. I really, really don't care about this diplomatic maneuver. Get out of here, France. Okay. So we'll see what ends up happening with that. Standard of living decrease in Rhineland. And what is causing... Well, it's unrealized taxes. Okay, noted. Our investment pool has built up, but our economy is continuing to decline here. There's no doubt about that. So that's very awkward. I'll be honest, I don't understand what's driving this. I understood it under the previous patch when this was causing huge amounts of throughput issues. I don't understand what's causing it right now, though. So we're about to get mass surveillance, which I don't think really helps. Taxation capacity, sure. Like I said, I don't feel like that really helps. What else do we have here? I mean, there's mass propaganda for 10% additional authority. And macroeconomics. Both would be decent. We'll go for mass propaganda for right now. Okay. So, how much longer on this modifier? Another 8 months on that. So, our income is just continually plummeting. And the reason for that is clearly our amount of turmoil. That said, yeah, our radicals are just drifting back upward. Our standard of living is just drifting down, and I'm not sure why. So, I think my theory is that it has to do with urban centers. Our urban centers are negative right now. So what happens if we back out? I think this is the problem. What happens if we go back in our urban centers from arcades and just go straight to market stalls? And run on free churches as well. What happens here? Keeping an eye. Not a lot seems to be changing as of right now. What is this? Bureaucratic imbroglio? I'm not familiar with that word. Let me try it. Let's see here. I'm guessing it's imbroglio? What does this even mean? A difficult or intricate situation, an entanglement.
Imbroglio.
Imbroglio. Okay, so it's a silent G. Good to know. Fantastic. Lawmakers working towards the enactment of censorship have found themselves mired in a particularly complex set of bureaucratic proceedings, grinding the work towards reform to a near halt. The fully developed bureaucratic apparatus compares with other organizations exactly as does the machine with the non-mechanical modes of production. Well, we could cut through the red tape for minus 5% bureaucracy, and 10% of bureaucrats would become more radical. Or it'll just take longer. Well, That's probably okay. So the question is, would any of these be... Well, according to this, public trams or public motor carriages would be better. I'm not quite sure. Actually, let's take a look at this tooltip quick. So this substitution here, things are a little weird. Okay. See, that's indicating to me, and I'm probably reading this tooltip wrong, but whenever I see this, this indicates to me that it's going to functionally be profitable. But I don't think that's actually the case, because if we run our urban centers full here, look at that, 0 to 1.9. But if we turn that down, 1.2, 8.3, 8.1. So this should probably be on public motor carriages. Okay. Our standard of living is continuing to sink here. And I'm still very unclear as to the cause of that. Very, very unclear on that. But I think it comes down to urban centers. Hypothetically, what would happen if we were to subsidize our urban centers in their current state? Which is running on, like, minimum. Or basically minimum. Subsidize them like so. That costs us some. But does that fix our GDP issue? Our GDP is still sinking. And I have no idea what's causing this. To be clear, our GDP is still #1 worldwide. And our GDP per capita is still #1 worldwide as well. But our standard of living is not good. Our standard of living has dropped incredibly dramatically. Incredibly dramatically. And our GDP just keeps sinking. I don't know what's causing this. I legitimately have no idea. It doesn't appear to be the turmoil. It doesn't appear to be... Well, market access has dropped somewhat, but it wasn't the market access either. Is it simply our legitimacy? It shouldn't be that. I mean, that doesn't help, to be clear, but it shouldn't be that. So subsidizing our urban centers is definitely not the answer. That's for sure. So the question becomes, what is the answer? I have legitimately no idea. Our GDP is just falling. For as far as I can tell, no reason. We've been able to fix this in the past by addressing our market access or our turmoil. With the change, though, I don't know what causes this if the turmoil doesn't. Maybe the turmoil does cause it. But the tooltip indicates that it does not. So there's that. But our standard of living is just absolutely plummeting, despite us still being #1 in the world. Wait, if we're #1 in the world at this point, everyone is undergoing huge sinks in their GDP right now. This is a global issue. This isn't an us issue. That's really interesting. So what's causing this globally then? Like, even Great Britain's GDP has been going up. France's GDP plummeted, but that's because of their uprising. Austria's GDP has been fairly stable. Russia's GDP has been stable. Scandinavia's GDP has been, well, it dropped dramatically in their uprising, but then it recovered. So this is not, in fact, a global issue. I was just comparing it to France, but we shouldn't compare it to France because France is in a different situation. This is not a global issue. This is something that is affecting us. So the question is, why? How can we turn this around? How can we get our standard of living to start rising along with our GDP again? Because our GDP is continuing to plummet, seemingly no matter what we work on. Now, we can definitely remove our consumption taxes. I'm not sure if that actually... That'll affect his market price. So we can remove these consumption taxes again and see exactly how much we can get to. This is very negative right now, but if we run simply our decrees here for violent suppression, we can see how close we can get. So I really wish that we could see like the location's GDP. That would be absolutely amazing if we could see that. So we don't have enough here. Just thinking. I really wish that we could unpause the construction queue and just pull from our investment pool. Or if we could just pull from our investment pool generally. Which is sad. We have all of this money here that we just can't utilize. Our GDP is just kind of chilling. We need to figure out what's causing this, right? We can see that there's 261,000 peasants in Franconia. Which is fine, I suppose. What is this? France wants a trade agreement. Cool. So we'll accept that for now. We failed to enact censorship, and these guys want to preserve rights of assembly. So we're going to have to cancel this eventually. These guys are going to be able to start a revolution. And we don't want that to happen. So the revolution is impending in 10 weeks right now. But obviously our number of radicals is a huge issue. Absolutely enormous at this point. Now it has started to come down a little bit. So we're going to have to cancel this enactment. These guys only go up to 79 radicalism. 70. Okay, cool. So we'll cancel that, and that seems okay for the moment. That dropped our number of radicals pretty dramatically there. That's great. That's really, really good. So the question now becomes, how long on our tech? 6 to 9 months. And how long on that flood relief? 3 more months. Okay. The flood relief, to be clear, won't put us positive right now. Our subsidies are kind of drifting down in costs a little bit. And that's good. That's very, very good. Our GDP is not really recovering. Although it might start soon-ish. We really need to get those numbers of radicals gone. So, there are no real political movements here other than enact censorship. And we know that they're not going to be a problem. They're going to chill at 68. Or I guess 67. So for now, that's fine. Chemical plants are fully employed, sure. Unfortunately, our GDP is nowhere near where it can be. That's the core problem here right now. Is that our GDP is far underperforming where it should be. My question is this simply because of the radicals? If so, the tooltip indicates that that has been changed. But maybe that's not the case. Maybe that's not it. Now, our market access is definitely a problem. There's not too much we can do about that right now with all of this turmoil. Honestly, the flood relief really screwed us over. There's no doubt about that one. No doubt about that at all. So these guys are going to be at 77 for right now. Okay. Urban center is fully employed up here. Noted. Our GDP is continuing to tick down. How much longer on that flood relief? 6 weeks. Man. This is really, really tough. I legitimately have no idea at this point what's causing this. I'm probably going to have to run some experiments and see if I can figure it out. If it's the turmoil, the tooltips indicate that that's not supposed to be the case. I don't know if that's actually the case or not. We've got 7 million in our investment pool right now. So if we can get this turned around, we can do some very heavy investment, and that'll be great. In fact, we could start construction now. And we definitely should. Because we're not in default at this moment. Okay. Beautiful. So we're going to finish up a bunch of motor industries here. There we go. And that bumps our GDP up actually pretty dramatically. Quite dramatically there. Now we are negative currently. Is this turning around? It might be turning around. Hang on, what's this? Prejudiced employers. Work is for everyone. Minus 5% authority, but we're still positive in authority, so that'll be okay for now. These guys are going to be chilling at 77. Standard of living increased. Okay. That's really, really good if our standard of livings are starting to go up. Our GDP is beginning to recover a little bit here. And we're going to finish up a bunch of stuff here. Sardinia, Piedmont have started to increase relations. So we finished up a bunch of those motor industries, right? And now we're seeing our urban centers are beginning to be fully employed. Is that what it comes down to? That's a hard maybe. So we're pulling out of our investment pool right now, but we have a lot of money in the investment pool. We're seeing our credit cap go up, and that's good. Hopefully our GDP is on the route to recovery now. I don't fully understand what was causing it. Standard of living decreased in Pomerania. That's not necessarily great. But it seems to be reasonably fine. Now, we should probably be on very high taxes right now if our standard of living is starting to increase. Yes, increased here. Beautiful. And our number of radicals is dropping. Loyalists is also dropping, awkwardly enough, but sure. For the time being, that seems okay. We're going to finish up some constructions here, railways and such. Beautiful. And we're pulling very slightly out of our investment pool right now. Now, we're very close to our credit cap, but it is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and next episode, we're going to see if we are truly on the path to recovery or not. I see we're starting to dip back downwards again, and I think it just has to do with the number of radicals. Now, to be clear, our standard of living, or rather our unacceptable government here, it's a problem. 143k additional radicals per month. We need to figure out how to get out of that. We could run the presidential republic here. And we'll get that started. We'll see if these guys radicalize from that. They probably will, if I had to guess. But we can always try to cancel this and see what ends up happening with that. But it's time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings. And a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including... I don't actually have my notepad up. There we go. Casserole, ALS Gamer, Kentuin, James Notepad. I'm thinking about notepads. Sorry, Shadow Wolf. You are Shadow Wolf. You are not Notepad. Mlohan80, Spartan News, Nick Smarty, Video Games Are Not Real, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Unisil, Kadra, Rogue Corvid, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video. And as always, I will see you all next time.